The sharp hiss of pressurized air announced the arrival of the Zelthari. A sleek, angular vessel docked near the lab entrance, and moments later, the cold, calculated figures emerged. Their elongated forms moved with an eerie precision, their black, reflective suits glinting under the sterile lights of the facility. At their forefront stood Dr. Vralik, a towering figure whose gaze carried the weight of countless atrocities masked as scientific pursuits. He paused as his dark, glossy eyes scanned the Zerithians and the freed children huddled together. "I see you've stumbled into our workspace," Vralik said, his voice smooth but dripping with condescension. "I'd advise you to leave before you interfere with something beyond your understanding." A.R. Quinn stepped forward, his imposing figure a stark contrast to the Zelthari's lithe build. "Beyond our understanding?" His tone was cold, every word deliberate. "What requires understanding is your justification for imprisoning children. Explain yourselves, or face the consequences." Dr. Vralik tilted his head slightly, a mockery of curiosity. "They're specimens. Humanity is a fascinating anomaly, resilient yet fragile, adaptable yet prone to emotional weaknesses. We're merely conducting studies to unlock their potential, for the greater good, of course. The greater good!" A.R. Quinn's voice rose, his fury barely contained. "You abduct innocent lives and justify it as research? They're not specimens, they're children. Living beings. Sentient. Capable of feelings, dreams, and fears. Your actions are abhorrent." Vralik's smirk faltered for a moment before returning, sharper and more dangerous. "You speak of emotions as though they hold value in the vast expanse of progress. Emotions are inefficient. Their suffering is irrelevant in the face of what we can achieve." One of the children whimpered, the sound cutting through the tense silence. Emma stepped forward, clutching the hand of a younger boy. Despite the trembling in her legs, she held her ground, glaring up at the towering Zelthari leader. "We're not experiments," she said, her voice small but defiant. "We're people." The simple statement hung in the air, a quiet defiance that seemed to echo louder than any argument A.R. Quinn could have made. For a brief moment, even the Zerithians seemed taken aback by her courage. Vralik's expression hardened. People, perhaps, but insignificant in the grand design. A.R. Quinn took a step closer, his voice a low growl. "You've made a grave error underestimating them. Humanity's strength lies not in their technology or their size, but in their spirit. And that spirit will always defy oppression." The tension escalated as Vralik's gaze shifted to the Zerithians. "I advise you to leave now. This is not your fight. Interfering will only invite consequences your people cannot afford." A.R. Quinn's jaw tightened. "Your threats mean nothing to us. Release the children, dismantle this facility, and turn yourselves in to face justice." Vralik let out a soft, humorless laugh. "Justice? An ideal for lesser beings. We operate on logic and necessity, not sentiment." The Zelthari raised their weapons, sleek and humming with latent energy. The Zerithians responded in kind, their arms at the ready, a hair's breadth from an all-out conflict. But A.R. Quinn raised a hand, signaling his team to hold their fire. "You will not leave this place with them," he said firmly. "This is your last warning." Vralik's eyes narrowed. "And this is yours. Do you think we fear you? This facility is equipped with fail-safes that will ensure nothing remains should you choose to meddle further." Emma stepped closer to A.R. Quinn, tugging on his arm. "The control panel," she whispered. "It's connected to the self-destruct system. They'll use it." A.R. Quinn nodded, his respect for the child growing with every passing moment. She was observant, resourceful, and unshakably brave despite her fear. He turned back to Vralik, his voice now calm but no less resolute. "If you destroy this place, you'll be signing your own death warrant. The galaxy will know of your crimes. And I promise you, there will be no place you can hide." Vralik considered the words, his expression unreadable. The galaxy does not concern itself with morality. It concerns itself with power. And power is what we hold. A.R. Quinn stepped closer, towering over the Zelthari. Your power ends here. We won't allow your atrocities to continue. The standoff deepened, the air crackling with tension. Emma, standing quietly beside A.R. Quinn, suddenly pointed to the far side of the room where the control panel blinked faintly. "We can stop them," she whispered. "That's where they control everything." A.R. Quinn followed her gaze and gave her a brief nod of acknowledgement. Then, without taking his eyes off Vralik, he issued a command through his comm Team Beta: disable the control panel. Quietly, the Zelthari leader seemed to sense the shift, his smirk fading. "You've made a mistake aligning yourself with these creatures, Commander. They will be your undoing." A.R. Quinn's reply was as sharp as a blade. "No, they are our salvation, and they will be yours too, if you have the sense to stop this madness." Vralik's patience snapped. "So be it." With a flick of his hand, he signaled his troops to attack. As chaos erupted, A.R. Quinn shielded the children, his mind racing. The Zelthari might have the advantage of technology, but they lacked the one thing humanity and the Zerithians shared: a bond forged by compassion and courage. He glanced at Emma, who was once again rallying the younger children, guiding them to safety with a determination far beyond her years. It was then he realized what made humanity so extraordinary. They never stopped fighting, even when the odds were insurmountable. The laboratory hummed with the faint, ominous buzz of alien machinery. The Zerithian soldiers moved cautiously, their glowing visors illuminating the metallic walls and casting eerie shadows. The air was heavy with the stale scent of synthetic sterilizers, a stark contrast to the grim reality they were uncovering. They had been sent to investigate strange energy readings on the remote asteroid, but what they found was far worse than they could have imagined. Rows of containment pods lined the chamber, their surfaces fogged with condensation. Inside, the outlines of small, fragile figures were barely visible. As one of the soldiers wiped the glass of a nearby pod, their breath caught. A child, human no older than 8, stared back with wide, terrified eyes. The faint hum of machinery was interrupted by muffled cries, their haunting tones cutting through the silence like a blade. "We've found humans," one of the soldiers muttered through his calm children. The report sent ripples of unease through the Zerithian ranks. While humans were known to the galactic community, their presence in this place made no sense. They were resilient, adaptable, and fiercely independent, a species that often defied the odds. But seeing them here, caged and vulnerable, was jarring. The Zerithian commander, A.R. Quinn, arrived moments later. His towering form radiated authority as he assessed the situation. His 4 glowing eyes scanned the room, pausing briefly on the trembling figures in the pods. A deep frown etched itself across his angular face. "Who did this?" His voice, calm but laced with simmering anger, echoed through the chamber. "We suspect the Zelthari," replied one of his officers. "Their technology matches the design of this facility. They must have been experimenting." A.R. Quinn's expression hardened. The Zelthari were infamous for their cold, analytical approach to science, often disregarding ethics in their relentless pursuit of knowledge. But abducting children, human children, was a step too far. One of the pods hissed open as a Zerithian technician cautiously disengaged its locks. A small girl stumbled out, her legs weak from prolonged confinement. She looked up at A.R. Quinn, her tear-streaked face filled with both fear and defiance. Her lips trembled as she spoke, her voice barely audible. "Help us." That single plea struck a chord deep within A.R. Quinn. For all their technological superiority, the Zerithians had always respected humanity's tenacity and spirit. To see that spirit crushed in such a way ignited a fury he rarely allowed himself to feel. "Prepare to extract them," he ordered. "No child will remain in this hellhole." The Zerithian team moved swiftly, unlocking pods and carefully assisting the children out. Each child bore signs of mistreatment: bruises, malnutrition, and the haunted look of those who had seen too much. Yet, amidst their fear, There was a flicker of hope. The presence of their rescuers seemed to breathe life back into them. Emma, the girl who had first spoken, clung to Aarquin's arm. Her small hand felt fragile against his armor, yet her grip was surprisingly firm. She pointed toward a console at the far end of the room, her voice steadier now. "They used that to keep us in. You can shut it all down." Aarquin looked at her with a mix of admiration and sadness. Even in the face of unimaginable terror, she displayed a sharpness and courage that belied her age. He nodded and motioned for his team to investigate the console. As the children were gathered in a safer corner of the room, the Zerithians continued their sweep of the facility. They uncovered more evidence of the Zelthary's atrocities, records of experiments designed to test human resilience under extreme conditions. The sheer coldness of the data made even the hardened soldiers grimace. Aarquin knew they had to act quickly. The Zelthary wouldn't take kindly to their operation being interrupted, and reinforcements could arrive at any moment. Yet, despite the urgency, his focus remained on the children. He crouched down Emma's level, his usually stern face softening. "You're safe now," he said. "We won't let them hurt you again." The battle erupted with ferocity, the air alive with the sharp crackle of energy weapons and the guttural war cries of the Zerithians. The Zelthary moved in coordinated waves, their precision as cold and calculated as their leader's gaze. Aarquin and his team fought with relentless determination, each movement calculated to protect the children huddled behind them. Aarquin's voice cut through the chaos, issuing rapid orders. "Hold the line! Shield the children at all costs." His soldiers responded without hesitation, forming a defensive perimeter as they unleashed volleys of return fire. The Zerithian technology, though not as advanced as the Zelthary's, was bolstered by their combat experience and sheer resolve. Every shot from their weapons was deliberate, aimed to disable rather than destroy, a stark contrast to the Zelthary, who fired without regard for collateral damage. In the midst of the fray, Emma clung to a younger boy, her sharp eyes scanning the room. She noticed something the others hadn't. The Zelthary were systematically advancing toward the control panel. She tugged on Aarquin's arm, her voice urgent but steady. "They're trying to activate the failsafe. We have to stop them." Aarquin's gaze followed her pointing finger. He saw it immediately, Vralik's troops converging on the panel, their intent unmistakable. His mind raced. If the Zelthary activated the self-destruct, there would be no time to escape. He needed to act quickly. "Alpha Squad, cover me." He barked into his calm Emma, "Stay back. Protect the others." Emma hesitated, her face a mix of fear and determination. "I can help," she insisted. "Not this time," Aarquin said firmly. "Your job is to keep them safe. I trust you." Reluctantly, Emma nodded, retreating to the group of children. Aarquin surged forward, his soldiers flanking him as they cut through the Zelthary ranks. The battle intensified, the Zerithians pushing harder to reach the console before their enemies. Vralik, standing near the control panel, noticed the Zerithian commander's advance. A sneer crossed his face as he raised a hand, signaling two of his soldiers to intercept. Aarquin met them head-on, his blade slicing through their defenses with practiced precision. He was relentless, his focus unyielding as he pushed closer to Vralik. "You can't win this," Vralik called out, his voice almost mocking. "Even if you stop me here, others will continue my work. The galaxy thrives on strength and intelligence, not sentiment." Aarquin didn't respond. Words were meaningless in the face of such arrogance. Instead, he pressed forward, his blade clashing with Vralik's weapon in a burst of sparks. The Zelthary leader was skilled, his movements fluid and precise, but Aarquin's resolve gave him an edge. Each strike carried the weight of his fury, his unwavering commitment to justice. As the two clashed, one of Aarquin's soldiers reached the control panel. The soldier worked quickly, bypassing layers of Zelthary encryption with practiced ease. But the failsafe was more complex than anticipated, and time was running out. "Emma," watching from the safety of the perimeter, noticed the soldier struggling. Her sharp mind pieced together the problem. She had seen the Zelthari use the panel during her captivity and understood the sequence they relied on. Despite Aarquin's orders, she knew she had to act. Gathering her courage, Emma darted toward the control panel, weaving through the chaos with surprising agility. "I can do it," she shouted, reaching the soldier. "I know the code." The soldier hesitated, glancing at Aarquin, who was still locked in combat with Vralik. With no time to lose, the soldier stepped aside, allowing Emma access. Her small hands flew over the console, her memory guiding her as she input the override sequence. The system resisted, alarms blaring as it detected unauthorized access, but Emma was relentless. Vralik noticed her at the panel and snarled, his composure cracking for the first time. "Stop her," he roared, directing his troops toward the girl. Aarquin saw the threat and broke free from his duel with Vralik, intercepting the advancing soldiers. "Protect the panel," he shouted, his voice carrying over the din of battle. The Zerithians redoubled their efforts, forming a wall around Emma as she worked. The console beeped, its lights shifting from red to green. Emma let out a small gasp of relief. "I did it," she cried. "The failsafe is deactivated." Vralik's face twisted with rage. "You insolent little..." His words were cut off as Aarquin lunged forward, his blade finding its mark. The Zelthari leader stumbled back, clutching his wound. For the first time, his confidence faltered. "You've lost," Aarquin said, his voice steady and cold. "Surrender or face the consequences." Vralik glared at him, hatred burning in his eyes. But before he could respond, a sudden explosion rocked the facility. The remaining Zelthari, realizing their leader was defeated and their mission a failure, began to retreat. Their ship's engines roared to life as they abandoned the battlefield. Aarquin turned to Emma, a rare smile breaking through his usually stern demeanor. "You were incredible," he said. "You saved us all." Emma smiled back, the weight of her ordeal finally lifting. "I just did what I had to do," she said simply. The aftermath of the battle left an eerie quiet in the facility, broken only by the soft hum of machinery and the occasional cough or murmur from the children. Aarquin surveyed the room, his soldiers moving methodically to secure the area and assess damages. The Zelthari ship had retreated, leaving behind only traces of their failed endeavor, but the scars of their actions remained. Emma sat against the wall, holding the younger boy close as he slept fitfully. The other children clustered nearby, their wide eyes darting between the Zerithians and the remnants of the lab. Despite their fear, there was a glimmer of hope among them now, a fragile but growing belief that the nightmare might finally be over. Aarquin approached Emma, his imposing figure softened by the gentle tone of his voice. "You were brave today," he said, "braver than most warriors I've known." Emma looked up at him, exhaustion etched into her young face. "I just wanted to protect them," she said, nodding toward the other children. "I couldn't let the Zelthari take us again." "And you didn't," Aarquin said. "Because of you, they're safe now. You should be proud." She gave a small nod, but her gaze dropped to the floor. "Will they come back?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Aarquin crouched to meet her eye level. "Not here. They won't dare return after what happened, and if they try anywhere else, we'll be ready for them." His words seemed to reassure her, though the weight of the trauma they'd endured lingered. One of Aarquin's officers approached, saluting sharply. "Commander, the facility's systems have been neutralized. We've secured all data the Zelthari left behind. It might be useful for exposing their operations." "Good," Aarquin replied. "Begin preparations for evacuation. These children need to get off this planet immediately." The officer hesitated, his gaze shifting toward the group of human children. "Commander, what happens to them now?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Aarquin looked at Emma, then at the others, his mind racing through possibilities. Returning them to Earth was the obvious solution, but the Zelftheri might have targeted their families or erased their lives entirely. Earth itself might not even be safe anymore. We'll take them to a secure location, he said finally, somewhere the Zelftheri can't reach them, and we'll make sure Earth knows what happened here. The galaxy needs to see the truth about the Zelftheri. Emma's eyes lit up slightly at the mention of Earth. You can take us home, she asked, hope breaking through her exhaustion. We'll try, Aarquin said gently, but your safety comes first. Until we know it's safe, we'll keep you protected. The other children began to stir, their whispered conversations growing louder as they realized the danger had passed. Aarquin watched them, his chest tightening. They were so small, so vulnerable, yet they had survived against impossible odds. Their resilience was humbling. As the Zorithians worked to organize the evacuation, Emma stood and approached Aarquin again. What about the Zelftheri? Will they do this to other kids? Aarquin's jaw tightened. Not if we can stop them. The data we've gathered here will expose their crimes. Once the galaxy knows, they'll have nowhere to hide. Emma nodded, her expression serious. Good. They shouldn't get away with this. They won't, Aarquin assured her. We'll make sure of it. The evacuation proceeded smoothly. The children escorted to the Zorithian transport ships with care. As the last of the children boarded, Emma lingered at the entrance, looking back at the facility one final time. Will you come with us? She asked Aarquin. He shook his head. Not this time. I need to stay and ensure the Zelftheri don't try to reclaim this place. But I'll see you again. That's a promise. Emma held his gaze, her young eyes filled with a wisdom beyond her years. Thank you, she said softly, for everything. Aarquin nodded, watching as she disappeared into the ship. As the doors closed and the transport lifted off, he turned back to his team. We have work to do, he said. The Zelftheri won't stop, and neither will we. The Zorithians moved with renewed purpose, dismantling the remnants of the facility and preparing for the battles to come. Aarquin stood at the forefront, his mind already strategizing their next move. The fight against the Zelftheri was far from over, but today had proven one undeniable truth. Humanity, even in its smallest representatives, was a force to be reckoned with. And with allies like the Zorithians, they would stand against any threat the galaxy could throw at them.